Ladies and gentlemen, the term Souls-like is a very reductive tag to put on a game that doesn't offer a Souls experience. From Software's games are great, and games that try to emulate that experience should be termed as such to give you an idea of what you're getting into. But games that go for a starkly different experience shouldn't be bundled under that term just because they share a few elements that From Software didn't even invent. Most of the people throwing around the Souls-like term don't even know where the line is drawn. Does the game need to have corpse runs to be a Souls-like? Then I guess every survival game ever is a Souls-like. Does the game need to have a challenging experience that puts an emphasis on skill? Shit, in that case, Ninja Gaiden is a Souls-like too. Does the game need to have a stamina bar and dodges? In that case, Todd Howard is truly a god, because Skyrim would be a Souls-like. All of that was said just to set the stage for one important question. Is Black Myth Wukong a Souls-like?
Hell no!
Wukong's only similarities to a Souls experience are bonfires and challenging adversaries. When it comes to gameplay and narrative presentation, Wukong most closely resembles Nioh. Both are combo-centric games that come with 3 different stances that allow you to utilize different moves. Both come with yokai or yaoguai burst damage abilities, and both have transformations akin to an oh shit button, all of which anchor on their nation's respective folklore. Does that mean Black Myth Wukong is a Nioh-like? Also, and I'll try to make that as clear as possible when talking about the combat. But before that, what is Black Myth Wukong in its own right? Well, the best way I can put it is that Black Myth Wukong is a fantastic action game built on the foundation laid by the iconic Journey to the West novel that takes the form of a love letter to Chinese culture. I know I just said it's not a Nioh-like, but the fundamental impact the game can leave on the player is vastly different depending on whether or not you have some prerequisite knowledge. In Nioh's case, if you know a bit about the Sengoku period and the Japanese folklore, the game is far more compelling. The same is true for Black Myth Wukong. Now, I have not read the novel, nor have I watched the TV show, so my prerequisite knowledge is about the same as yours, unless you are deep in the mountains seeking enlightenment. But I did gather a few interesting details, and I imagine for someone in the know, there are dozens more. For example, did you know that in the novel there are 81 tribulations to attain Buddhahood, and in the game there are 81 bosses? Or that the game's theme is a modern take on the theme of the TV show? Or that these beautiful green mountains hold a dark secret? The literary value this game provides is truly spectacular. You have retellings of some things in the novel, you have new tales that are captivating to say the least, and you have one of the best codexes I have ever seen that gives you a look into creatures from Chinese folklore with a beautiful painting of them and an anecdote about them just for that cherry on top. And that's not to mention the interactions, the cutscenes, the music videos. There is just so much intricacy and material to digest that all I realistically know is that you play as a monkey with a stick. It all starts with a battle in the heavens between Sun Wukong and Erlong Shun, a literal god. This beautiful and demanding spectacle acts as a tutorial for the game's mechanics, but it is also where the stage is set. This battle takes place after the conclusion of the novel. We know this because Erlong Shun calls Wukong Victorious Fighting Buddha, a title Wukong receives at the end of the novel. The battle ends in a fashion similar to Wukong's defeat in chapter 6 of the novel, but instead of being arrested, he is killed. And then the game begins proper. and puts us in the shoes
Will you close it?
of the destined one, a monkey. But not just any monkey, a monkey of merit that has the simple goal of retrieving the 6 senses or relics of Son Wukong that were dispersed upon his death. Naturally, each relic is contained within its respective chapter that comes with its own aesthetic, character roster, central plot, and most beautiful to me, its own bonfire. It's no secret that I love seeing what kind of bonfires developers come up with. And to see 6 different ones in a single game is incredible. Each chapter is a self-contained experience for the most part, so you don't need to be paying utmost attention on one to understand the other. If that was the case, you'd lose your mind, because some of these chapters are extremely long. But there are 3 secret subplots that extend throughout each one. How secret, you ask? Well, one just requires going off the beaten path and finding a frog boss in each chapter. Nothing major, right? Well, another requires that you break a wall that doesn't look like anything special in chapter 2 to acquire an item that will allow you to make your way to various hidden Lung bosses in each chapter. As much as I want to dive deep into it in a Serjuh-spective manner, I am not going to. Because I lack the knowledge and because there will be DLC coming. So for now, let's talk purely gameplay. Black Myth Wukong is a very simple action game to get your hands on. Realistically, you could boil down the combat to mash light attack with the occasional sprinkle of a heavy attack. And as you get deeper into the game, you'll have more sprinkles to incorporate, but the foundation remains largely the same. Now, if you are generally uncreative with tools games give you, this combat will get boring. There is not much excitement to obtain from assaulting the same button, even though the animations are phenomenal. However, if you like to experiment, then there are a lot of minor parameters you can tweak to create a distinct flow, or more so oomph, to your combat's experience. At its core, the combat will have you mashing light attacks to build up the focus meter. Once it's full, you get a focus point that you can use to dish out a heavy attack. As you improve, you'll have more focus points available to you, which you can use individually or all at once for a massive heavy, depending on your needs at the time. Each combat encounter's focus is building up that focus, and while you do that, you'll have to stay focused, because enemies will try to nene you, to which you have several responses. The simplest of all is dodging. It's a very simple and forgiving form of evasion, but if you master its timing, you can perfect dodge, which is cooler because it leaves a silhouette of you and can bring benefits like building up your focus or dealing damage. The resolute counterflow skill, which you can use to deflect if you have a focus point, is also a good response, though this requires a considerable amount of getting used to from my experience. You also have spells like Immobilize, which is basically Neo's Sloth Talisman, but on crack, giving you a massive window to heal or build up that sweet focus with no retaliation. Or Cloud Step, that'll teleport you out of harm's way and allow you to zoom back in with an attack. Or Me, aka Rock Solid, which shows Wukong a picture of a beautiful Asian cosplay GF, turning him rock solid. This one comes with one of the best and sexiest sound effects imaginable. It's almost as good as the sound effect you get for hitting stone pillars. And of course, I can't forget the legendary Pluck of Many, that'll summon copies of Wukong to jump on any enemy as if they took a wrong turn in Detroit. It's basically the Mimic tier on all the steroids imaginable. Many of the creatures you encounter throughout your journey will drop their spirit. By giving it the Sucky Suck, you'll be able to take advantage of that spirit's passives and also use it for a quick burst of damage. It's basically the monkey version of Neo 2's Soul Cores. There is a whopping 55 of these bad boys, so experimentation remains fresh throughout the game. And for better or worse, there's no RNG involved in acquiring them, as spirits drop from specific predetermined Yaogwai that overflow with aura. You can't really spam these as they require chi, which is built up by killing and the likes. And if that's not enough, you also have full-blown transformations akin to Neo's Yokai Shift. Take the form, health bar, and moveset of a powerful Gwai you encountered in the game to survive tricky situations or deal massive damage. Herein lies the beauty of Black Myth Wukong. Your purpose is to take all of these pieces and string them together into one beautiful routine. Now, if you were fighting practice dummies, this would get boring. But each boss is distinctly different in what attacks they do and how they do them, which shuffles the pieces and has you forming a string on the spot. Maybe you pop this spell earlier. Maybe you go for a different heavy. Maybe you subscribe to Serjuh to guarantee you get to see another day. When someone says Black Myth Wukong has stances, people might assume it's like Neo. So let's briefly go over how Neo handles stances to see how Wukong's take is not even close in terms of functionality and depth. In Neo, each weapon has 3 different stances that all come with their own values as a foundation. Movesets, attack speed, attack power, defense power, and evasion speed. In Black Myth Wukong, the only difference stances make is your heavy attack and how it acts. For example, with the Smasher stance, you can charge heavy attacks while sprinting, which plays into that heavy attacks need to be up close and personal. While the Thrust stance lets you go for a quick bait and switch if you time a heavy and light just right. And of course, the incredible Deadly Dance skill that lets you instantly dish out a maxed out heavy after a dodge, which is just...
Sex.
Sound effect?
Yeah, sex. Sex with him.
Animation?
I have sex with him.
And the Pillar stance, you get to stand on a stick that grows like my ween-ween, so I guess that's cool? The point is that there is not much intricacy with Black Myth's stances. There's no point in juggling between them, as the light attacks are identical, and heavies aren't freely usable since they require focus points to be adequate. Finding the stance you like and sticking to it is 99% of the stance system's depth. The remaining 1% is making the sticking decision depending on what weapon you're running, as some of the set benefits they bring could anchor on a specific stance. And no matter what weapon you use, you will always have the exact same moveset, with the exception of 1 or 2 weapons that do actually mix things up with the one and only other moveset. Now, such a limited amount of movesets is not a problem, because this game doesn't pull the Lords of the Fallen trick, where it boasts having hundreds of weapons and then boils each category down to the same cookie-cutter moveset, resulting in that hundreds figure more realistically being 12. However, where Sekiro and Another Crab's Treasure succeed in having one moveset, Black Myth Wukong kinda underwhelms. It has the stance system, the slots that could be fitted with a unique moveset, so to speak. Yet it forgoes that in favor of putting that moveset on a weapon that might be obsolete due to a couple of factors. The damage could be lower than you'd like, since you'll be finding better arbitrary number sticks as you go. Or that weapon could be entirely irrelevant, as its set stats do not benefit your current focus. These two naturally coexisting elements are disconnected for some reason, which results in the stance system feeling like nothing more than a glorified heavy attack flavor toggle, and the different moveset feeling like a novelty that you can't really incorporate adequately into your playstyle. Now, if Wukong's stick was just a stick that you upgrade and give benefits to by putting some relic on it, then having weapon-determined movesets would be a better implementation, as it wouldn't have you deciding whether you want to experience a different moveset at the cost of damage and set benefits. I've seen some people call Wukong a boss rush game.
Retard alert!
Yes, the game has an insane amount of bosses, and all of them are incredible from the way they're presented, with one of the sickest cutscene to intro quip transitions ever, to the experience they bring to the table in terms of OSTs, visual spectacle, and challenge. Except 100 Eye Taoist. This guy... But to say it's a boss rush game completely undermines the fantastic environments and your journey through them.
Turtle.
Contrary to popular belief, the game does have exploration, so much so that you could actually miss out on over a dozen narrative threads and bosses. This exploration feels very weird at first because the game is full of safety nets, I mean invisible walls, that don't really blend with the environment, which feels like a slap on the wrist whenever you try to explore. After a bit of playtime, you start to feel what paths are traversable, and the existence of these invisible walls becomes less invasive. I've been yapping for far too long as is, so I'ma bundle OSTs, environments, UI, characters, and all that kinda jazz under one word: peak. This is one of the greatest games I have ever experienced in terms of artistry, especially when it comes to characters. A big bulky tiger acting as a smith? That's amazing. But Zhu Baitie, oh man, Zhu Baitie is easily the best character in any game ever, bar none. Having him around is a guaranteed sense of security, and witnessing him return in a cutscene here or a cutscene there always brings laughs and memorable moments. Okay, rating. Black Me Wukong, Monkey Game of course, an enlightened out of 10. That's about it. Don't forget slap like, slap wife, hit subscribe, and I shall catch you next time. Okay, bye bye.